I woke up about an hour early today, normally than I do. I don't know why I wasn't feeling tired, so I got up. But I'm feeling the tired now. So certain things I say, and even then, certain things I say may be inaccurate. And if they are inaccurate, please, those that are listening, because I'm going to share this video with the two people that I am arguing, are hopefully a friendly debate. The other one more of a friendly debate. The other one is a little bit more hyperbolic, at least I believe, than the other one. So I was listening to this gentleman. What was his name? Let me see here. Now, you know what? I might just share my screen here. Let me share it right now. Let me share it. It's going to go. Okay. So I'm going to go onto my Twitter. And I don't even know how to pronounce his name, so, but it's this gentleman here. And he believes, he says, remember, and we were talking about like how how social media and the internet itself should be regulated. And I don't even have to go to my profile to just kind of I say, so what wise elite teachers and scientists should decide what is fit for the population en masse to see and hear? Because in my opinion, I remember when the internet was absolutely wide open. And I see one person on Twitter, and his name, let me get his name correctly, hopefully, let's see here. It was Mike. I don't know how to say his last name, but Mike Egan or Elgin, and I don't want to mispronounce his name, but he seems like a rather mild-mannered, very nice person. The other person seems kind of mild-mannered himself, but I find him to be a tad more hyperbolic than the other. And it's his video that I kind of want to get into a little bit. He talks about, white supremacy and the motive behind the January 6th riot, some call it an insurrection. I believe that it was more of a riot than it was an act of insurrection. Could be wrong, but the way I see it, insurrection, I don't know why it's called an insurrection and not a riot, but we saw a lot of change of words. When a protest becomes violent, such as the BLM Antifa protest, they usually call that a riot, but they change the words around to mostly peaceful protest. And this gentleman talked about the motives behind the people who are interested in election integrity. And my question about that is, are any of the questions legitimate? Should any of the questions be answered about election integrity? I know we've had plenty of recounts, but is there not a difference between a forensic audit and a recount? And should that issue be dealt with and just like people be asking questions? And we also have we're going through right now a pandemic and vaccine mandates. And I believe we've had vaccine mandates in the past. Okay. The effectiveness of these vaccines. I'm going to just state personally, I've been vaccinated. I've had the Moderna shot. I've had both of them, and I will also get the third one. I happen to be diabetic, so I will be getting that. I think that's pretty good. But the effectiveness of masks, how effective are they? And is this the best step to move forward? And there are lots of questions I have. I have more questions than answers of what the best trade-off is, because life isn't necessarily about solutions. They're about trade-offs and what types of trade-offs we want to make as a society. But this gentleman who made the video, and he was talking about white supremacy and the like, and said that blacks, that America, the United States of America, was built on the backs of black slaves. And slavery was a worldwide institution. And America was one of the first societies to, not the first, I think England came before us, which is a white society, and America both abolished slavery or abolished portions of it. They could argue that the 13th Amendment also put a loophole in there or whatever. I don't necessarily believe that, but okay, there might be some truth behind it. Something that I'm not looking at or observing. But I have known throughout the past and now that there have always been elites that think they know what is best for society in general. I remember having Colin Flaherty on my show. I had a blog talk show, and I had Colin Flaherty on there. And he wasn't banned on YouTube yet, but this was, before many of they've had many purges, by the way, on YouTube, primarily due to what they consider to be the heresy of hate speech, and they decide what is hate speech and what is not, But and I mentioned in the 1950s, Rod Serling, the writer of The Twilight Zone, had written a dramatic piece that was inspired by Emmett Till. And corporations and other things, they didn't want that out there. They didn't want that to be heard. So they said they changed it to a Mexican, to a Latin American, and they changed the whole dynamic of it because they thought that what Rod Serling wrote was too inflammatory for the public, even though this was an issue in the black community. Lynching and unlawful murder were issues. But spring it back now, Colin Flaherty's channel, which he talks about black on white mob violence and black on white racial hostility, his videos are routinely taken down. But they can have up, and they don't say why. They say hate speech, but they don't give anything that he has stated that is incorrect or wrong, or maybe they don't like the the way he presents it, as there's any right way to present the issue, you know. And I also recall that Stefan Molyneux also had his channel taken down because he preached the heresy of what they consider to be hate speech. Of course, they allow for a person like Tariq Nasheed to be up and preach his views. Now, this gentleman, by the way, and God, now I can't even remember, but I have both his description and I have Blair Imani. I'm going to talk about her in a little bit, but this gentleman is Indian and he talks about white supremacy and American racism. And I believe this person is an American of Indian descent. And I've had a few friends, just and friendships didn't end because of anything. It just we lost contact with each other. But they have told me that the caste system in India is like racism on steroids. And I wonder if these people are wrong about that analogy. I would love for you to do a video about the caste system and American racism, or even Western racism. There are uniquenesses in society and culture, and I do believe that blacks have suffered unique persecution in this country. But I also believe that people have primal instincts, and a lot of anger comes out of being treated unfairly and not being heard. And I don't see people answering questions. I just see people shutting things down. And like I said, human beings have primal instincts. And I do believe that all human beings have primal instincts, and they go to protect themselves. And it's not rational, and it's not even moral. And you get to a moral society by discussing and talking things out, and that's not necessarily done today, and it's not done particularly by the left. The left doesn't want to have open and honest discussion, at least from what I saw. I recently saw, like last year, I saw Black Lives Matter, and these people didn't want. They seemed so myopic they couldn't see past their own nose, and I tried to ask them questions and talk to them, and it was almost like they were on a Pol Pot level of fanaticism. They knew what was right for everyone. And I'm mainly a movie fan, and I'm just reminded by the movie Viva Zapata, when Zapata, the Marlon Brando who plays him, is questioning authorities, and the guy asks him his name, and when he gives it to him, he circles it. And now that he's in power, he's doing the same thing. And I just feel that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And right now, the left is part of the establishment power, and they seem very corrupt, and they do not want to answer questions or have debate. I see that quite often, more often on the left than I do on the right. And like I said, there was a time when the right did not want to debate, particularly when it came to racial disparities and the like. And there was myths about America and about the American West, and other things. But there are also myths about about the American past as well. I mean, people have this the Willie Lynch letter. They've all known to be a fraud, and and again, who also decide who gets to talk in this country, who gets a platform and who gets a voice. I was just recently watching again this person, Blair Imani, and I have her description as well. And she is a black queer Muslim, and she believes that those things do not contradict. And she went on to say in a video that that Islam was made, gets its puritanical roots from the West when Western Europe came in contact with Islam. That Islam was more free sexually, and it didn't have these Western hangups. And from what I observe, and she's gotten, her like to dislike ratio is just off the charts. But we're giving, this person has been given a microphone to speak, a loudspeaker to speak, and the things that she believes seem to be more driven out of ego than they are driven out of truth. And I just wanted to put up a picture of this person just to illustrate my point. I'm just going to go here to my images of her. I mean, this is someone who became Islam as an accessory. And you just look at, like just the color and the just this person, it's much more of a fashion statement. And not a big fan of that. But she gets a microphone and is able to talk about her views on Islam, and that I guess to a degree she was preaching authentic Islam. And are we allowed to push back and say, wait a minute, this doesn't sound true? Again, the Willie Lynch letter has been used in a few movies, and there's ample evidence that that letter is a fraud. And there's evidence, like, I mean, what we know about the Windrush, I mean, like, just in world history, what we know about the Windrush generation. I was recently watching History Debunked, and what they're saying that they were asked to come is also considered a fraud. And there are many subjects that we are forbidden to talk about. We can't talk about the murder of white farmers in South Africa. And I talked about it on my radio show, and one of the persons said, well, that issue's been debunked. And the article was saying that it was, there were a few thousand that were murdered. Now it's down to about 34 a year. And I thought to myself, are those numbers acceptable where we cannot discuss openly that issue? Is South Africa a racial vendetta nation? Because people talk about South Africa, they use words like truth and reconciliation, that comes out of the South African, uh, kind of when they reconstructed their whole nation and stuff. So I'm just kind of curious on that. And are we allowed to have an open dialogue about justice and about health? Right now, we do have a pandemic. The administration, acknowledges that we have a pandemic. He's asking for mandates. He's saying that ICU beds are open. And then he went and encouraged numbers of migrants to come to our border. Is that really good? Is that good, strong leadership to deal with what we're dealing with now, a pandemic? If we have hospital beds, ICU hospital beds are filling up, and we have a contagious disease, is it really a good idea to encourage immigrants? And has he handled that situation properly? Just a question. Anyway, I've touched on a lot of things. I hope to have an open dialogue. I'm going to share this video with the people I've been arguing with, are friendly debating. Hopefully it's friendly. Hopefully it's nice. But there are questions I have. And it seems like those questions aren't answered. They're just shut down. And by nature, people are going to get angry at that. It upsets me, but I realize that this has happened throughout history, and it happens in a household. I wish it wouldn't happen on the internet and on social media. I would like to see an open and honest, or an open internet that is just that respects the First Amendment, and that human beings can decipher for themselves what is fact and what is fiction, and what is the best course of action. This is giving this to the commons, and I think the commons are smart enough to decipher what is right and what is wrong. Anyway, this has been Brian with Transparency and Merit. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. And particularly if you vote thumbs down, you vote dislike, make a comment on why you dislike and why you disagree. Thanks for listening.